All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this weekly forecast for the upcoming week, starting tomorrow on Monday, July 6th, all the way to Friday, July 10th. So, before we look at the economic calendar here, I just want to mention that I will be leaving for Europe and Africa tomorrow. And so I'm gonna have a pretty busy week ahead, with a bunch of flights and transits and stuff like that. So it might be hard for me to come out with a video forecast every single day. I will try my best. In the case in the case where I can't do a forecast, I will let you know through a YouTube post and I could do a written forecast. Okay? So just keep that in mind, with the different time zones and everything, the flights, the airports, the transits on the road and everything might be a little bit hard, but I will do my best. I promise. And so for the rest of the summer, I I will be overseas, and so it might be sometimes a little bit difficult for me to do the forecast. But again, I will do my best, and I will let you know in advance if something changes. So with that said, let's dive into this weekly forecast. So the upcoming week doesn't look too great right here in terms of news. Very empty economic calendar. Tomorrow we have PMI. That could be interesting. PMI at 10 a.m. On Tuesday, we don't have any USD news, but we do have the interest rate for the New Zealand dollar, which should be hiked. So that might be interesting here. Could get a hike on the New Zealand dollar. Wednesday, FOMC meeting minutes. That's just not interesting. Thursday, unemployment claims, but it's only an orange folder, so that's not great. And then Friday, Canadian dollar news. That's it. That's all, guys. Really, very slow week, I think. The literally the only US dollar news that could be interesting is PMI on Monday, on tomorrow. That's all. That's all there is this week. So I think it could be a very slow week, mostly consolidation throughout the entire week. So I guess that's good. It's the week that I'm leaving and I'm gonna be like less available. So maybe it's a little bit better that way. But then if you look at next week, then we have a more filled economic calendar here with PPI and stuff like that, and CPI as well. So um let's look at the chart, see what we have, and yeah, let's start this forecast. So on the dollar here, if we look on the, and also something I want to mention, we are starting a new month and we are starting a new quarter. That's really important. So I might be looking at the quarterly time frame, um, to make the analysis, because now we have a quarterly candle that just closed a few days ago. So right now on the dollar, still bullish, still bullish. We could potentially create a monthly fair value gap, but that's in a long time. So for now, let's focus on the short term. And on the short term, I think that you can see right here, uh, technically the first candle on the weekly is a rejection from that weekly fair value gap. So we can definitely continue higher towards the context high and then eventually this intermediate term high right here. So two things can happen here. Two things can happen. We actually left a rejection low inside that fair value gap, which we can sweep. So either we sweep that rejection low to then continue higher like this, or we just start moving higher already from here. Okay? So we'll have to see what happens, but the dollar does look interesting right now to continue higher. Then on the daily, well, on the daily here, you can see that the two last candles, so Thursday and Friday, were strong rejections from the weekly fair value gap and the overlapping fair value area. But something that's important to note is that we do have a daily bearish fair value gap. So that's to take into account. Okay. So something that could happen is when the market opens tonight, we could sting into it. Then continue lower, sweep the weekly rejection low to then move higher. That's something I think that, well, in my opinion, that's the highest probability scenario here. Okay. Um, so yeah, that could be interesting. Maybe to look for a short, again, very short term. Once we get this thing inside the daily fair value gap, looking for a short targeting this, well, the previous week's low, like this. You could potentially find an opportunity like this, looking for a short. But once we reach that rejection low, then we're looking for higher prices for the remainder of the week. So I'm still bullish here on the dollar. Now let's take a look at AU. AU does look really good, I'm not gonna lie. We created this weekly bearish fair value gap overlapping with a fair value area. So yeah, this does look really good. Retracement back inside the fair value area to then continue lower. This is definitely going on the interest list. Yeah, I do like what I'm seeing here on AU. So interest list. And again, it agrees with the dollar because if the dollar wants to head lower short term, then AU is gonna go higher short term. And then once we reach that fair value area, boom, we reverse and we go lower. So yeah, that's definitely very, very interesting. GU, I do not like GU. Nope. Nope. Nope, because we had this weekly fair value gap and we closed way above it. And that makes it lower probability. And we also created a bullish daily fair value gap. So no, GU is not interesting. Let's see, EU. I don't like EU either because we are inside a quarterly fair value gap right here. And looking for a short wouldn't be the smartest idea right now on EU. But again, I mean, yeah, it's possible because we do have the previous week's low, which is this target right here, and we still didn't get a sting inside that weekly fair value gap, just like on AU, for example. So short term, we could be heading higher, get a sting back inside that weekly fair value gap to then continue lower. It's actually not too bad, but it's not my favorite. I have to be honest about that. So I'll put it on the interest list for now, and we'll see how things evolve. Now, New Zealand dollar, US dollar, we didn't create this weekly fair value gap, which is not great, but we do still have this one up here. So again, potentially we could have a retracement back into this one to then continue lower towards the target. So yes, this can go on the interest list, but again, not as good as AU, for example. USD Canadian, um, last week was just a massive consolidation. And so nothing changes here. Same plan as last week. We're just waiting for retracement back inside that weekly fair value gap to continue higher and target this context high and then eventually maybe this high all the way up here. But yeah, overall nothing changed on USD Canadian. Still interesting. USD CHF is a different story because right now the first candle rejection is not really a rejection because we closed inside the fair value gap and lower than that fair value area. So that makes it lower probability to start with, but keep in mind it takes two candles to reject. So we can still reject from that weekly fair value gap even though the first candle doesn't look too good. So again, something that could happen is a sweep of this rejection low right here. So a sweep of that low to continue higher is frankly very possible. So something like this. Okay. Then let's look at the daily. Yeah, the daily's not too clear either. Oh, sorry, that's the daily. Sorry. Okay, so you know what? We actually have this bearish daily fair value gap. And so this is exactly the same scenario as the dollar in a certain way. So what I see happening here is potentially we're going to start by going higher to sting back inside this daily fair value gap. Once we're there, we can go lower, sweep the rejection low to then start going higher like this. So that does look a lot like the dollar, and I do like it. Even though the first candle on the weekly here is not the greatest rejection in the world, well, you can argue it's not a rejection at all. Again, as I said, it takes two candles to reject, right? Two candle rejection. And so I think potentially this could be interesting. We'll keep an eye on it. And then USD JPY, just not interesting right now, just because we have reached this target. And then the next target is literally, I'm looking on the yearly time frame here. Well, the truth is we don't have another target. It's just way too far. I would say the next logical target would be this fair value area. That's going to be the next target on yeah, that's the next target on USD JPY. And so it's really far. It's really, really far. Like the time it's going to take to reach that target might be a few months, right? So right now we have reached this major, major high. And I just think we're going to consolidate. I just don't like USD JPY right now. And also like the Japanese yen is at its lowest level since what? Since 1985, guys. 1985. So yeah, I just don't like this situation here. It's not looking great. But it doesn't matter because we do have a lot of other majors on the interest list. All right, so moving on to gold, the metals. So right here on gold, last week was pretty bullish. We ended the week really bullish after reaching this low. But I'm still keeping my bearish bias because we still have this target to reach right here. I don't think gold is turning around anytime soon. I think what we're seeing right now is just a retracement within the bigger bear market, basically. So if you look on the daily here, we actually have this beautiful range from this high to this low. And right now we are inside of the golden area. And I just think that we can just simply potentially reach the golden level, maybe a little bit higher, sweep this high to then continue lower. But overall, the move that we're seeing higher, so well, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from last week, these three candles are not very strong. Yes, we have this tiny daily fair value gap, but I don't think that's going to hold price back. And it's about seeing, well, on Monday, can we create that bullish fair value gap, which I don't think we will. Um, and I think if you're looking at this range right here, we're in the perfect area to reverse, which is the golden level. And so from this level, we can just, start building lower and targeting this low right here. So overall bearish for the week here on gold. But for tomorrow, though, for tomorrow, uh, it's not too clear, if I'm being honest. I think the thing that's most likely to happen from what I'm seeing right now, you see this swing high right here, just above the golden level? I feel like we want to reach that first. I feel like we're gonna start going higher when the market opens, reach and sweep that high, and then during New York and the rest of the day, we're gonna go lower. So yeah, it's about seeing for tomorrow, it's about seeing can we reach that golden level, sweep that high, something like that, and then seeing if we can actually get a rejection from it. But yeah, it does look good to continue lower, I'm not gonna lie. And silver is very similar. I'm just gonna remove some stuff here because silver is very messy. We have a lot on the chart. Mm, This, this. Okay, so, oops. Okay, so the range we have on silver is a little bit different than the one we have on gold. It's a little bit smaller. We're not taking this intermediate term high. I mean, we could, but the if you want more accuracy, you take this one. And right now, again, just like gold, we are inside that golden area level. And we also have this fair value area right here. And just overall, like this move higher that we've been seeing last week is just pretty weak. You can see that, yes, it's going higher, but consolidating, not creating any fair value gaps. And so again, I'm very bearish here on silver. And something I just noticed, I didn't notice before, but we actually created a bearish weekly fair value gap. I mean, we can't ignore it because it's there. It's not the best, but it's there. So that can definitely push price lower. And as I said, same scenario as on gold. Just when the market opens, we're gonna go higher, probably sting in here, reach that golden level, and then just heading lower for the rest of the week. I think that could be interesting here. But yeah, still bearish on the metals in general. Now, crude oil is just not moving. It's just not doing anything. Um, but yes, I wanted to show you this because we actually ended a new quarter. There's a quarterly candle that just closed, and we actually created a quarterly fair value gap. I know it's not the best fair value gap in the world because, this third candle is huge, um, but it's there. Maybe this is the area, the 60s, the high 60s, I should say, or the mid 60s here on the crude barrel. That could be the area where price reverses and start going higher. We'll have to see here what happens, but yeah, medium to long term, I am still bullish on crude oil. I know it doesn't seem like it right now, but I just don't believe that this is over with the whole war in Iran and everything. Like, I think we haven't seen the consequences of the war yet, which is crazy to think about. Like, yes, okay, for a few weeks our gas prices were higher, but I think that's nothing. I think that's not the full consequences right there. I think there's still some really worse consequences to come in the upcoming month, and especially during the summer. And so I think we're going to see higher crude prices during the summer from that quarterly fair value. And then something I would like to monitor here on crude oil is actually this weekly bearish fair value gap that we created last week. So let's see if this can hold and push price lower or not. All right, moving on to crude oil. Sorry, moving on to Bitcoin. Sorry, guys, a little bit mixed up here. Um, so pretty unfortunate here. We didn't create that bearish fair value gap, and that shows strength in Bitcoin, but still remaining bearish here. There is just no reason. There's absolutely zero reasons why Bitcoin started going higher from this point. Okay, doesn't make sense. It didn't reach any liquidity or any fair value or anything. So overall, I think the month of July could just be a consolidation here on Bitcoin to create that bigger monthly fair value gap. I think that's what's going to happen. But for now, for the upcoming week, it really looks like gold in a certain way. Like again, like the metals and Bitcoin have been moving in a very similar fashion in the past few weeks. And if you look at Bitcoin here and the Fibonacci, we are inside the golden area, and we can reverse from there. And then if you look at, this small relief that we have, this small retracement that we're getting, it's pretty weak. We didn't really create any fair value gaps or anything. And I think that just like gold, we can just reach that golden level and then start going lower from it. So I'm remaining bearish here until I get proven otherwise. I'm remaining bearish here on Bitcoin. And we haven't reached this low. We still have this low to reach, and I think we will reach that low before the end of the month. Probably not before the end of this week, this upcoming week, but before the end of the month for sure. So that's it for Bitcoin here, guys. Still bearish. Then indices. Indices, honestly, there's nothing here. Um, it's just consolidating on like overall, just consolidating. And I don't really get why we have a countdown here. The market should be closed. Yeah, the market is closed right now, which is weird. But anyways, we had on the S&P here, we had this daily fair value gap, which we got a sting into. Then we reached the context high, and then we went all the way back down, and then Friday was just going nowhere. So right now it's hard to tell, but if you look at the Fibonacci on this, so from of this range right here, you can see that, we're respecting it. We're struggling to push higher. We're struggling. It took 1, 2, 3, 4 days, and we still haven't broken out of this golden area level. And again, that's probably just gut feeling from me. It's probably just a gut feeling. It's not based on anything rational, but I'm still bearish here. I'm still seeing lower prices. I just don't see why the market would start going higher all of a sudden. Um, so yes, I'm still bearish on the S&P here, even though it doesn't look like it. We'll see how things move. Let's see if Monday reaches this high first, or if it reaches the rejection low here. That's going to tell us a lot about what the markets wants to do. Nasdaq, so Nasdaq is a little bit different. It's actually much weaker than the S&P. If you look at last week's candle, I really don't understand why we have this tiny candle right there. It doesn't make sense. I don't get it. But overall, okay, if you look at this, so this previous candle on the weekly, that's extremely bearish, right? And we still have this low to reach, and eventually this one. And yeah, that just looks mostly bearish to me. And we had, again, it's really tiny, but we had this bullish fair value gap, which we disrespected right now. The two candle rejection has failed, so this is not good anymore. And we created an opposing bearish fair value gap right there. And so I think that we can continue lower from that. Definitely. And that fair value gap, by the way, that daily fair value gap also happens, I think. Let's see. Yeah, yeah, exactly what I thought. That's crazy. This daily fair value gap perfectly overlaps with the golden area and that zero point 0.5 level. And so I really, really think that Nasdaq will just open, sting in here. It might consolidate around this level for a while, but then eventually it's gonna go lower from there. Okay? So yeah, that's it for the indices, guys. I'm still bearish for the week, even though it's not very clear when you look at the details on both the S&P. Well, the S&P does look much stronger, but if you look at Nasdaq, it does look like it wants to go lower. So we'll see what happens. Okay. And finally, let's take a quick look at the crosses for this week. JPY pairs are probably not interesting because of what's happening with the Japanese yen. Um, yeah, that's actually, you know what? That's not too bad. Canadian dollar JPY. Last week, very bearish. And if you look on the daily, we have this target that's a little bit closer, right there. And we actually have a daily fair value gap right here. Let's see if we can get a sting into the daily fair value gap and if we can respect it to continue lower. CHF JPY to continue lower. Yeah, no, this one I don't like it. GBP JPY, nope. Euro JPY, nope. But like, that's no, that's massive consolidation. Australian dollar JPY to continue lower. We have reached this low. Nope, that's not interesting. And then finally, New Zealand dollar JPY, not interesting as well. Okay, so the only one that does look like maybe we could have something is Canadian dollar JPY to target this low. Okay, so from the daily perspective, the daily time frame, you can see that we have that daily fair value gap, and if we can respect it to continue lower, Canadian dollar JPY is interesting to continue lower. CHF pairs quickly. Yeah, that's not great. Consolidation here. Nope. Canadian dollar CHF. Okay, so we got an expansion last week, and we can definitely continue lower. We have this low, and then on the daily we have a day. Oh, that's not too bad. Canadian dollar pairs this week do look good. From that daily fair value gap, maybe if we can get the retracement into it, which I think we will get a retracement because we reached this low. And from this low, which is a major low, price needs to, get a retracement somehow. There's going to be a reaction, a rejection from this swing low. And that rejection, I think, could be price going higher, staying back inside the daily for value gap to then start going lower, something like this. I'll put it on the interest list. We'll see. Euro CHF to continue lower. Yeah, that's not too bad as well. We have this target down here. We created this daily fair value gap on Friday, which I think we can retrace back into to continue lower. So something a little bit like this, up, and then we can go lower. So Euro CHF, not too bad. GBP CHF, yeah, that's a consolidation. Don't like it. New Zealand dollar. Oh yeah, that was on the interest list. I remember. Yeah, that's still interesting. I think it was on the interest list last week. But I think it deserves to be in the interest list for a second week in a row, where we had this daily fair value gap overlapping with this fair value area. We got this perfect, like very accurate sting, and then we started going lower. And I still think we can go lower, even though like Friday was a massive consolidation. I think that we can still keep going lower. And again, if you look at this 4-hour candle, when the market opens, if we can create a 4-hour fair value gap right here, then sting back into it like this to then go lower. Oops, sorry. Then go lower. This is still interesting. Still deserves to be on the interest list. I do like this a lot. All right. Canadian dollar pairs. Yeah, that's a consolidation here. Not too sure about this one, guys. No, don't like it. Euro Canadian going higher. That's a consolidation. Not interesting. GBP Canadian dollar. This one had a massive expansion. And right now, after this massive expansion, and we reached like this high right here, I think that we can consolidate and probably create a weekly fair value gap here. So I would want to take a step back here. I'm anticipating a consolidation on this pair for the week. And then New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar doesn't look too great on the weekly. Yeah, no, that's not good. Okay. Uh, New Zealand dollar pairs. So Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. Yes, I have a Fibonacci here, but that's just me forcing ideas. Um, we actually had this weekly fair value gap. Oops, right there. We had that last week. And the first candle is not a rejection. Again, it takes two candles to reject, but it just doesn't seem like we want to reject from it. I don't know. It's hard to tell, but again, that's why I had a Fibonacci drawn out here. Because if you look at the Fibonacci, this entire move lower right here, we don't have a fair value gap. And it does seem like the last, like Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday candles, they're all respecting that golden area. And it does seem like it wants to start pushing higher. So that's why I had the Fibonacci drawn out here. And yes, potentially, again, from the weekly perspective, it takes two candle to reject. And so this week could reject from that weekly fair value gap, even though the first candle closed below the fair value gap. So I'll keep it on the interest list. We'll see. Euro, New Zealand dollar. Yeah, that's not great. We completely failed to create that weekly fair value gap. And we have a fair value gap going against. That's not interesting. And then, oh, you know what? That's not too bad actually. GBP New Zealand dollar managed to create this perfect, beautiful, this is very high probability fair value gap here, overlapping with a fair value area, and we still have this target to reach. That does look good. I'm not gonna lie. If we can get the retracement back inside the fair value gap, maybe even the fair value area, then from there we can go higher for sure. I like this. Yeah. And that fair value area also happens to be a daily fair value gap. So I do really like GBP New Zealand dollar. Let's put this on the interest list. And then finally right here, Euro Australian dollar. I really don't like these two pairs. They're never good. They never have any opportunities. Yeah, that's ugly. And then GBP Australian dollar. Yeah, again, it's forcing an idea here, but we do have a weekly fair value gap right there. Again, that this is really me forcing an idea here, but again, if we can get the retracement back in here, something like this, up, then we can target this high before the end of the week. I'm still bullish until we reach this high, so yeah, that's not too bad. It's just not my favorite. So, okay, we have a couple crosses on the interest list here with honestly GBP New Zealand dollar looking really good. Um, and then also, which one is the other one that I liked a lot? Is it Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar? Yeah, Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar does look good as well. But again, it's about seeing, if we use the Fibonacci here, it's really about seeing can we show some evidence that price wants to turn bullish here from this level. If we don't see that evidence, then it's just not interesting. All right, well, that's it for the crosses. We do have a couple on the interest list. So, quick recap on the dollar. Overall bias for the entire week is bullish. We still have those two targets to reach at the top. But again, the start of the week, short term, we could see some lower prices. It is very possible that we would sting inside this daily fair value gap to sweep this low. The ping pong effect where we ding dong, ding, like bing bong, bing bong. Okay, sorry, that was that was bad. But overall, you understand what I mean here. I think we can sting first inside that daily fair value gap, then sweep the rejection low, and then the two candle rejection on the weekly, we can start going higher and reach these two highs right here. So overall, bullish bias here. Uh, if the dollar does go lower, well, higher during, the week, then AU would be really interesting. I think probably one of my favorite ones, AU to continue lower. Then after that, the other ones are not too clear. They're not great. But my second favorite one would probably be USD Canadian. Yeah, USD Canadian. Uh, so we're gonna start going lower a little bit at the beginning, but then after that we can start going higher. So yeah, USD Canadian and AU would be my two picks for this week. Gold and silver. Right now I know it doesn't look like it, but what we're seeing right now, this move higher we're seeing is simply a retracement, nothing else. I don't think we're turning bullish. We still have a couple lows to reach on both gold and silver. So, yeah, overall, just lower prices. And silver is the best one in my opinion, where we actually have this weekly fair value gap that, kind of overlaps with this fair value area, the golden level and everything. And so I just think price will reverse from this area. So lower prices for the week on the metals. Crude oil, not too clear. Honestly, could be another consolidation. We'll see. We'll see. But again, my medium to long term bias for the entire summer is bullish. I think throughout the summer we're going to see gas prices going up and up and up and up. We'll see what happens. Then Bitcoin, again, Bitcoin looks a lot like the metals. They've been moving together in a very similar fashion in the past few weeks. And so again, Bitcoin is inside of that, golden area where we can reverse and start going lower. So we'll see what happens here on Bitcoin. And then finally, the indices, I'm bearish. I'm bearish, especially if you look at something like Nasdaq. This daily fair value gap, sorry, does look like it wants to push price lower. Then on the S&P is a little bit stronger, but I'm still keeping my bias, and I'm still bearish here. Okay, so this is it, guys. This is it for the weekly forecast. I would say we have an interesting week ahead. Okay, um, we have a couple setups, on the metals, on the majors, on indices, on some crosses as well. But just keep in mind the most important thing is that we have a very bad economic calendar for the upcoming week, especially for the US dollar, where we just have PMI on Monday and then that's it for the rest of the week. Again, FOMC minutes doesn't count. This is trash, okay? So we really don't have anything except PMI on Monday, and so that makes it that maybe we're gonna have a very low volatility week, just a massive consolidation everywhere. It's possible. It's really possible. So keep that in mind. But overall, we do have some decent setups across many markets. So it's about reacting, See, is the volatility there, Um, how is the market moving? Is it moving very slow in a consolidating way, or is it trending? Is it respecting fair value gaps? Is it respecting fair value areas? And that's how you know what the market conditions are, and that's how you can know better about are we consolidating or are we trending, right? So yeah, that's it. That's it for the weekly forecast. Thank you for listening, guys. And again, I will do my best to provide you with a daily forecast every day of this week. But again, I will be transiting through airports and I'm going to be all over the place, and so it might be a little bit difficult, but I promise I will do my best to post a daily forecast every night this week. All right. Well, thank you for listening, and I will see you in tomorrow's daily forecast. Ciao.